Hello everybody, welcome back from spring break. I'm Evan Kamiko and this is The Toss-Up. Each week join myself and an expert line panel dissect the latest sports news from some of the nation's most elite college programs here in Bloomington to the biggest stadiums and stages around the world. This week we move into uncharted toss-up territory to talk Champions League and English Premier League, or as I call it, football, soccer? I'm not sure. We're going to find out though. One more thing before I get going. Don't bet your uncle who is an Iowa grad for the Indiana game. I have to do this. But coming up, we are going to have a great show for you. A big panel. Emma Watson is even doing a segment today. So you're going to enjoy it. Go Hawkeyes. We'll be right back. To our panel, Emma Watson joins us right now for a football 101 lesson for all those, like me, who are relatively new to European football. Emma, we kick it over to you.
Thanks, Evan. Hello, my name is Emma Watson, and welcome to my first and probably last ever Spotlight segment. I paid Evan $10.17 for this spot, and I'm going to get my money's worth. So let's kick it. With the Champions League heading into the quarterfinals, we wanted to highlight the players and teams that aim to hoist the trophy in May. But before we get into all of that, I'm going to explain the Champions League, how it works, any important terms, and what's happened so far. Short version. If you're from the States, you'll probably want to root for this guy. His name is Christian Pulisic. He's American, he likes McDonald's, wearing Axe body spray, and he plays for Chelsea. Chelsea is a team in England that plays in the Premier League. They won the ultimate prize last year and are looking to repeat this season. I hate him. I hate this team. And if you root for this team, I probably hate you too. Now, here's the long version. The Champions League is a conglomeration of the best teams in Europe. Each domestic league has designated spots in the table that qualify teams. There are 32 spots in total with 8 groups that have 4 teams each. They play a round robin and the best 2 in each group move on to the knockouts. The knockouts include 16 teams and there's a draw to decide who will face who. The teams will play 2 games, a first leg and a second leg, and the team who scores the most goals, or if there's a tie, the more away goals will move on. The draw process will repeat for the quarterfinals and eventually the semifinals as well. And here's where we stand at the moment. There are 8 teams left, 3 from England, 3 from Spain, 1 from Germany, and 1 from Portugal. That was a lot of numbers, so I'm glad you're still with me. The first leg games will start April 5th and 6th, and while the second leg will follow a week after on the 12th and the 13th. The winners will advance to the semis, which will start in the last week of April. Now you're a football expert. Kind of. Maybe. Or at least now you're all caught up in what you need to know for this episode. Evan, panel, back to you.
Thanks, Emma. I think I'm caught up, but I still don't know what offsides is. Joining me on the panel this week is Jack Edwards, Ta Lau, and Camille Goot. And if it looks like I'm reading questions off the prompter, it's because that's exactly what I'm doing. Soccer's so out of my realm. Guys, I want to kick it right over to you, Jack, Ta, Camille. Welcome to the show.
I'm glad to be here.
Thanks for having us.
Awesome
to be back.
Jack, I want to start with you on this one. What are your takeaways from the round of 16?
Well, it was a fun one. There was a lot of good matchups. I think the highlight of it was Real Madrid versus PSG. It was the headliner when the draw was made. And it was probably the best end-up matchups throughout. It came down to a late comeback from Real Madrid, who proved to be, they're Europe's elite. They've won the competition 13 times, which is unbelievable in the landscape of things. And PSG with a side with Neymar, Lionel Messi, Kylian Mbappe up front, which on paper is one of the best trios in the history of the sport. In execution, it was quite poor. And Real Madrid are a fantastic, fantastic club. And it was a tremendous matchup between kind of new blood versus old blood. And I thought that it set up a very good matchup. That was my highlight of that round, at least. There was a lot going on. That was very good, though.
Ta, were there any surprises for you?
Yeah, the big surprise, other than PSG choking yet again in the knockout phase of the UEFA Champions League, was actually Juve crashing out and losing at home 3-0 against Villarreal. Juventus went to Villarreal in the first leg, got that draw. Dusan Vlahovic scored early on. In the second leg, everybody expected Juve at home. All they needed to do was just beat Villarreal. They almost did that, got the early opportunity from Vlahovic again. Morata missed, and Villarreal did what they wanted to do. They sat back, they hung on to that draw, and they hit on the counter. That's exactly what Spanish sides do in this competition. And in the end, Gerard Moreno with the first one, Paul Torres with the second one, and last but not least, Arnaud Danjuma wraps it up. So Villarreal shocking Juve was that biggest result for me.
Camille, anything to add to that?
Yeah, I would agree with Todd. I guess they Juventus kind of was beaten like in their own game, and I think the two biggest surprises for me personally was Bayern Munich kind of lagging in that first leg against Salzburg. They didn't look themselves, but then that second leg, just classic Bayern came back and just blew them out of the water. But honestly, the biggest surprise for me was Ajax. I think they got one of the most favorable draws that they could have. They were looking really hot in the group stages. I believe they're one of 2 or 3 teams who won all their group stage matches in the history of the Champions League. And I think they just didn't do enough in that home leg, and then they got upset to Benfica. So that was probably the most surprising matchup for me.
So, Tal, what were your thoughts on the quarterfinal draw?
Oh, I think a lot of people would have their eyes on that Chelsea and Real Madrid game, because you look at the other fixtures. Liverpool got a favorable draw against Benfica. City, yes, they play Atletico Madrid, but you're still going to favor City. And then the last one, Bayern against Villarreal. Of course, Bayern are heavy favorites to win it yet again. So it has to be that most level matchup, Chelsea against Real Madrid. With everything that's happening with Chelsea right now, can they stay together as a unit? Can they go out there, put on a great show? And for Real Madrid, can they finally end that streak? They've lost 3 games against Chelsea, and in that 5 matches that they've played, they've only drawn 2. So can Real Madrid finally end that drought?
And Camille, who got lucky in this draw? Was there one team that got lucky and one team that got unlucky?
I would say Man City usually gets a rep for being the luckiest team in the draws, but I think they got an even, I think they're still favored to win against Atletico, but I think probably the luckiest team would be Bayern Munich. I think Villarreal, they pull that upset, but I think Bayern will have the easiest time handling them. And I think, like Todd said, Chelsea, Real Madrid is really the only even matchup on paper, and you would expect Liverpool, Bayern Munich, and Man City to win all their draws.
Jack, what about you? What are your thoughts? You've been quiet for a little bit.
Yeah, I think that Bayern being lucky against Villarreal, I don't want to say Villarreal is the toughest Spanish side that's remaining, but they're up there. Benfica, I think, is by far the weakest of the 8. When it was Ajax and Benfica drawn together, everyone was licking their lips trying to get the winner of that matchup, because it was always going to be one of the non-top 5 leagues that was going to come out of that. They have Darwin Nunez, who's a fantastic forward. He's probably going to move for a big sum in the summer. I just don't see them as a side that threatens Liverpool at all. I don't think that they would be a side that would be beatable or not beatable for anybody. So Liverpool almost have a gimme into the next round of the Champions League in my eyes, which is very important, because those matches bookend their match against Manchester City in the Premier League, which is a hugely important match in the concept in the landscape of their season. So I think Liverpool were by far the luckiest. I think Bayern Munich against Villarreal should be very evenly matched, because we saw how poorly Bayern matched up against Salzburg in that first leg at least. City, Atletico, I think they should walk that one, to be honest. Madrid-Chelsea, I think, is by far the best match of the remaining ones, because Madrid, again, historic side.
We're getting there, Jack. You're jumping ahead.
I'm very excited to get going.
I can tell you're very excited. All right, let's move forward. Before we get to best match, we got one question before that. La Liga and Premier League have the 2 most teams remaining. Which of them has the better odds to get a champion?
I would say for sure Premier League. If you look at just on paper and how they've been performing, like Jack said, Man City should easily get through to the semifinal. Chelsea, Real Madrid probably has the best chance out of the 3 Spanish teams by far, but I don't see them faring well against Man City. The other 2 Spanish teams just don't have a chance in my eyes.
Yeah, when you look at the league positions that the clubs are in relative to the Champions League, so 3 in the Premier League, you have City, who's in first place, Liverpool in second place, Chelsea in third. Now you look at the La Liga table, with the teams remaining in the Champions League where they are. Real Madrid, they're going to run away with the La Liga this year. Atletico is in 4th, and Villarreal is actually in 7th. So they're not performing that well in the league. And I think that the quality of the players, the quality of play on the pitch, the Premier League is still a cut above the La Liga.
Jack, anything to add before we go to best matchup?
You know, when you say produce a champion, you know, I think that Real Madrid are up there with sides that have the best chance to win it. You know, if I was to rank them, I won't say my exact rankings, they'd be very up there. They'd be very high up there. Because I don't want to jump the gun in your questions.
You're more than welcome to.
You very much want to keep it in order. But you know, it's tough because Madrid, I think, have a very good chance. It all depends on the match against Chelsea. They got the doors blown off them by Barcelona, who are, you know, credit to them. They've improved immensely under Xavi, their new manager. But I wonder, and you know what, they could be in the relegation zone, to be honest, Ta.
Yes.
And they're Real Madrid, I would still trust them to have a good result in the Champions League. So I think that actually, you know, I'm making a big argument for Spain. That's a lot of words to say that the Premier League is still just a cut above. You probably have Manchester City and Liverpool are two of the best sides in the world, maybe two of the best in history that are in this iteration ever in the sport.
So you're laughing over.
I mean, I completely agree with what he's saying. I think that right now, if you rank the 8 teams remaining in the Champions League, it's Liverpool and City, everyone else, and maybe Villarreal and Benfica. Because you look at the quality that Liverpool and City have in their squad, it's just marvelous. If you want to be a manager right now, those are the 2 teams you want to coach. So, yeah, they're still a cut above everyone else in the competition.
To put it another way, is if you rank the 5 best teams in the history of the sport, I think Liverpool and Manchester City, these teams under Pep Guardiola and Jurgen Klopp are probably they're up there.
No doubt about it.
They might not be 1 and 2 because that'd be very high. They're top 5 teams of all time.
So let's skip ahead. Let's look at players specifically. Who's your favorite player right now, and who's got your favorite player? Who's the best in the competition left?
I would say for Liverpool, it's an easy answer, Mohamed Salah. He's an unbelievably talented player. He's had a tremendous season in the Premier League. He's had important goals in the Champions League so far this year. After returning from the African Cup of Nations, you know, he's had a bit of a lull in form because he's a guy who's incredibly fit, incredibly able to play a lot of matches in sequence. Doesn't mean he's always going to show up at his 100% best. I think that I anticipate him to continue to be a big factor. He was not shunned out of a Ballon d'Or, which is the top award for players last year. I think that was rightly gone to Lionel Messi. He had a very good end of last year. He's had an okay start to this year. I think he'll want to kind of restake his claim for being the best player in the world. He has his own contract dispute going on with Liverpool. He wants to be one of the best paid players in the world. And to do that, he needs to show up in the biggest matches. I think he does just that.
Todd, what about you? What are your
I
thoughts
agree
here?
with that. I agree with that completely. I think Mohamed Salah right now is the easy option. He also made a record for, the easy option.
You call me lazy, but easy option?
I mean, right now he's just miles ahead of.
Never want to go with the easy option.
All right. He is the best option to pick from.
No.
He made that record as well, scoring in 9 straight Champions League games. But if I don't go with Mo Salah, someone else I have my eye on is Robert Lewandowski for Bayern Munich.
Absolutely.
He has 12 goals and 3 assists in the competition. And he's already in the Bundesliga, broken Gerd Muller's record, scored 43 goals in the Bundesliga in 1 calendar year. 43 goals. I mean, imagine that. Just every other weekend he scores, you see Lewandowski on the score sheet. So Mo Salah and Robert Lewandowski for me.
What about you, Camille? Do you have a breakout player outside of that?
Oh, I was also going to add, alongside those 2, I was also going to add Karim Benzema. I think his inclusion in that Chelsea Real Madrid matchup is huge for Real Madrid's chances. I think his and Lewandowski's just goal-scoring contributions are just so underlooked because of the likes of Messi and Ronaldo. They're both top 5 in the Champions League goal-scoring records. But for a breakout player for me, I think someone who has still yet to kind of cement his name in European football is João Felix. I think he's kind of been hindered a bit because of Simeone's system with Atletico, and he obviously had a brilliant goal against Manchester United. I think he has a chance to kind of continue on with that momentum against Man City, and I think he's been starting above Luis Suarez recently, so I think he has a good chance.
I don't know if Atletico's system supports him the best, though. I think that's the biggest issue is Diego Simeone he's got like this Ferrari, and he's got the parking brake on the entire time. It's really tough kind of see him really flourish in the way that Atletico play. I would go, I think maybe Phil Foden. I think he's the kind of guy who could really kind of explode onto the scene for Manchester City. He's obviously a guy who's incredibly established as a young star. He's kind of lacking that star moment. I think that this is the competition where he really could take it and go to the next level, because there's discussions about Bukayo Osaka, a tremendous player for Arsenal. How does he compare elsewhere, with other youngsters in England? And, I think that this is a chance for him to really kind of say, I was here before these guys. I'm still, 20, 21 years old.
Yeah.
He's been around the block. I think he's got a chance to really kind of make a huge impact, especially in that match against Atletico Madrid.
Last thing before we make predictions.
Yeah, I'm going to go with a wild card pick here. I'm going to go with Villarreal's Arnold. I think that he's great. The name for him is a name that you don't usually hear. Lots of people overlook what Villarreal are doing. But, he's 25 years old. He moved from Bournemouth to the Europa League champions. So the fact that he's scoring goals right now, he has 5 goals in the Champions League this season, and what Villarreal do, breaking at pace, trying to hit teams on the counter, he's an essential part for that.
All right, let's make some predictions. Jack, all you. Who's your finals and your champion?
So I kind of walked through it all. I think I mentioned already Liverpool and Bayern, I think, have pretty easy draws. It's probably easiest 2 draws. I mentioned they'll face off. I think Liverpool win that head-to-head matchup. I think Liverpool are a unique side where they have arguably in every position in their starting 11 a top 5 player in the world, which is an unbelievable thing to have. I don't think there's many other clubs. Maybe Manchester City is the only side who can have that as well. I think Liverpool are the first finalists. On the other end of things, I've been going back and forth on Chelsea, Real Madrid. I've hyped up Madrid a lot, so I've almost kind of made my mind up. I'm going to say Real Madrid wins that one. There is no Madrid derby, though. Manchester City win that leg. And I think that it's not going to be a case of Manchester City. It's going to be similar to the PSG Real Madrid match. New kid on the block versus the old veteran. And the old veteran is going to kick the kid in the face. And he's going to advance to the finals. We get Real Madrid versus Liverpool in the final, repeat of the 2018 Champions League final. But 4 years on, Liverpool are 4 years better. I think Liverpool win that one.
I know you want revenge for that.
I want revenge.
Ta.
I would love for a rematch of the 2017-18 final, and of course what happened in Kiev and the old Karius game. We can all forget about that if any Liverpool fans watching right now. But Liverpool go through, Bayern go through, they meet, Liverpool win. I think that this Bayern team isn't as strong as Bayern's team from 3 seasons ago, and hey, Liverpool beat that Bayern team from 3 seasons ago as well. So Liverpool waits in the final. Look at the other side of the bracket. I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt to Chelsea. I think that this entire Roman Abramovich situation has actually helped the club in a way. Everyone's coming together. Everyone's sort of playing for the badge now. Hopefully you don't run out of sponsors before the end of the season. But the other match, I'm actually going with an upset. I think Atletico Madrid have enough to frustrate Pep Guardiola. Guardiola right now, I think, his focus will start to shift towards the Premier League because Liverpool are breathing down their neck. So I'm going to go with a Chelsea and Atletico Madrid semifinal. Chelsea wins that one, and it's a rematch of the Carabao Cup final between Liverpool and Chelsea. Won't go to penalties this time because Salah's going to score and Liverpool are going to win.
Wow.
Camille?
Wow.
Doesn't look like you agree with that too much.
I am a huge Chelsea fan, but I'll get to that. That I don't agree with that. I'm gonna have. Mine is not similar to theirs, so we're gonna have 3 different finals here.
Finally, differences.
But I do.
That's new.
I do agree that Liverpool and Bayern will definitely meet in the semifinal. They should easily get through. I think Liverpool pulls that one out. I think Bayern is very vulnerable right now. And I think they got away with that against Salzburg, but Liverpool have just so much quality up top, and if everyone is healthy as they should be, I think Liverpool gets it done again. They go to the final on that side of the bracket, and then I don't like that upset from you at all. I think Man City, also just too much quality up top.
I'm starting to regret that now.
I think Man City will get there, and I don't think Chelsea will win this matchup. I think Real Madrid gets revenge. Like I said, Benzema's inclusion is huge, and Chelsea are without their 2 wingbacks. I think Real Madrid's wingers will test that a bit. They also have a midfield that can match Chelsea's, and I think Benzema gets them through there. But I don't think he's enough to get them through against Man City. I think Man City and Liverpool are just on a collision course right now. Huge Premier League matchup coming up, like we mentioned, and yeah, I think that'll be a great way to end this season. I think there's just no one that could. You're right. I think Man City finally break it, finally get it done, that's obviously
That's a hot take on the panel clearly right now.
To bury
against,
Taz,
especially against these.
yeah, to bury Taz' Atletico prediction once more. They played against Manchester United in round of 16. That is the only reason that they're in this leg of the
I just think
competition.
Simeone has something about him that can mess with Pep's head.
maybe
That's
like
all.
maybe like 2 years ago.
Yeah, we'll see.
All right, Camille, Jack, Toss, stick around because coming up after the break, we're shifting towards the English Premier League. We'll be right back. Welcome back. We're now talking about the English Premier League with Camille, Jack, and Ta. Let's get right into it. Ta, let's start with you. What are your takeaways from before the start of the second half?
Well, I think it's down to a two-horse race now. At the beginning of the second leg in the Premier League, I think Man City were up 13 points at something
14
like that.
points
14 points at one part of the season. And Liverpool's just been chopping down. They've not lost a game since they lost at Leicester last year. And they've been on a fantastic streak. Salah, Mane, Jota, all firing. And don't forget the new signing, Luis Diaz as well. So Liverpool are cutting down, and the race is back on 70 and 69 points. Meanwhile, the race at the bottom to avoid relegation is heating up as well. It's almost like a 4 or 5 team race there to avoid those 3 spots going down to the championship. So I think it's been an entertaining second half of the season in the Premier League.
Jack, what about you?
Well, the I don't know if I call her the host, the person who kind of opened the show, Emma Watson, be very happy with this. I think Arsenal have been the most surprising thing that I've seen from the last few weeks. They've been very impressive, mightily impressive, against Liverpool, which is my team. I've never been less confident in a match than I was in that one. They played through Liverpool's press exceptionally. Their build-up play was amazing, and so I think that Arsenal just in general have been incredibly impressive. They're almost push themselves from a top 4 race into a race for 3rd place against Chelsea. I don't think they win that race, but I think they've almost cemented themselves into that 4th place spot. So that's where Arsenal.
Kind of also going back on those two for the Arsenal top 4 situation. I think they do grab that final spot. They've been way more consistent in the mid-season stretch than the likes of Tottenham and West Ham. I think West Ham can challenge them a little bit more than Tottenham right now. And also, if you look at that title race, it's very close now. Liverpool's been obviously gained so much ground. But if you look at the remaining schedules, I think Liverpool has a tougher draw. And they have, they're playing more top 6 teams and more mid-table teams than Man City will towards the end of the season. So I'm going to say Man City still pulls that one out.
All right, Jack, over to you. Who's the most influential player right now?
Oh, most influential player. I said a Liverpool player last time round, so I don't want to say one again. I mentioned him earlier in the show. It was Bukayo Saka. I think he's been an incredibly good player for Arsenal. I'm kind of sick on my Arsenal team. Maybe I'm an Arsenal fan.
I would be pretty happy with that.
But I think he's been a really good player for Arsenal so far this year. Most influential might be a bit too much there, but I didn't want to say Salah again because it'll always follow him. It'll always circle around him. So I think that's always going to be something that'll exist. But Saka, similarly, right-sided forward, left-footed, he's only primed to go to the next level. He's going to be one of the best forwards in the world the next few years. And if Arsenal can get to the 3rd place, get no Champions League spot, I mean, that's an incredible accomplishment for him to pull out.
Top.
He said he's going to avoid Salah. Last time he said Salah for the Champions League, I sort of avoided Salah and went Lewandowski, but I'm going to stick with Salah this time. I think that he's the best pick. Let's just say not the easy pick, but the best pick. 20 goals, 10 assists. He's leading the Golden Boot race all by himself. The next person in line, 7 goals ahead of the next person in line. And when it comes to assists, Robertson and Trent, and as well as Salah, all 3 Liverpool players just marking their territory when it comes to assist leaders. So the fact that he's scoring goals and also providing for others, really Liverpool right now, what they should do, just make sure he signs that contract. His contract's running out in a couple of years. If Salah stays, he might go down as one of the best players, not only in Liverpool, but Premier League history.
Camille?
I'm going to agree with the safe pick. I mean, there's just been no one as influential as Salah, and I think if they want to make that, complete that, comeback for the title, I think it has to go through him. I think obviously they have so many other attacking pieces, Mane, Diaz, and Jota, but Diaz has kind of taken some time to adjust. He's shown lapses, but I think Salah's health and his involvement, goal scoring and assists, is just crucial to their title run. But Saka is obviously a great shout. I can't really think of any other influential players, at least through this mid-season stretch.
Lukaku.
Trent Alexander.
Yeah.
Evan agrees with you.
If we were doing the league.
I definitely agree with him. You alluded to it a little bit earlier about relegation. Let's dive into it. Who do you think is getting relegated?
Ooh, that's a really hot take because right now there are a lot of teams hovering around that area.
Right.
I think Norwich, they're in 20th. They're going to be gone. Watford, they're going to be gone. Burnley or Everton? That's the question right now. As a Liverpool fan, of course, I want to see Everton get relegated. But looking at the games left on the schedule, I'm not sure if you'll agree with me, but I think Everton have the more difficult fixtures coming up. They have United, they have Arsenal, they have Chelsea, and I think they have Liverpool as well, that Merseyside derby. So I'm actually going to go Everton's going to fall down. Burnley, they're going to survive. Everyone wants a bit of Sean Dyche in this league. So.
No one wants a bit of Sean Dyche. Absolutely nobody wants that.
Everton,
I've never seen
Watford, Norwich. Those three teams for me are going down.
Camille, what do you got?
I'm going to go the same first two, Norwich and Watford. They're just too low right now. I don't see them getting enough wins with how deep they are in the relegation zone. I'm going to disagree with Ta here. I think the third team will be Burnley. They've picked up a few signings that have helped them recently, but I think that kind of magic that they saw against like Tottenham and a few weeks ago is kind of run out. I think Everton, even though they have that tougher schedule, they have enough quality up top to kind of scrape out draws. And at this point of the season, I think that's just what they need, just enough to get them out. And also Leeds are that fifth team kind of, hovering on that zone. I think they'll stay in as well. I think Jesse Marsh has turned them around for now, and he's doing a great job with them.
The American.
Yes.
Jack, what about you?
It's interesting. For Burnley, you mentioned the word magic. Wout Weghorst. That's more of a Harry Potter name than a football player's name. They I think, are very interesting if they get relegated or not. Everton, how you mentioned the run-in that they have, it's very difficult. Frank Lampard is not a great manager.
I can attest.
Camille, you can attest.
Yes.
You had to watch his teams play football for quite a bit.
It was for the best.
And so I think they've just got kind of a weird situation going there. They have a few matches in hand, so it's tough for me to say they'll definitely go down. But I don't want to stick with just the simple three that are currently in the relegation zone. Norwich and Watford are yo-yo teams. They just go. They're too good for the Championship. They're too bad for the Premier League. I don't know what you do to change that, but they have no ability to kind of stick in the Premier League. They're going down very easily in my eyes. I think that the magic from Harry Potter man, Wout Weghorst, is enough for Burnley. I think Everton. Other side of this relegation. I actually think Leeds and Everton will be battling it out on the last season to that spot.
All right, second to last question. Who is getting that last Champions League spot? Camille?
I think I already mentioned this. I'm sticking with Arsenal. They've just been the most consistent. Saka, and I think ever since Aubameyang's gone, they've been much better up top, a little bit more chemistry. And I just don't trust Tottenham or West Ham in their final run of games to kind of challenge them. Even if Arsenal slip up, I don't like those other two teams' chances.
Ta?
Yeah, you're right. The only thing nice about Tottenham's their stadium, and luckily I was able to visit it. Exquisite stadium. But I agree with you. Arsenal as well. I think that their attacking threat. You mentioned the likes of Saka as well as Lacazette, Martinelli. Let's not forget about him. He's a good up and coming player as well.
And Odegaard,
he's basically a playmaker in that midfield, and they troubled Liverpool in the last time, the last outing. So I think that Arsenal secures that last Champions League spot. They're in fourth right now, so if they're able to just keep on doing what they're doing and make sure they don't slip up against easier opponents, I think it's in the bag.
I was going to bring that up. They've figured that out recently. I think that's been the key.
Mm-hmm.
Jack?
Yeah, I'm getting word from my floor director that there's a team we haven't talked about yet, West Ham, and there's a reason we shouldn't talk about them because they're crap. They're closer to 10th than they will be to the top four. So I said Arsenal already getting top four. I think Bukayo Saka is one of the best players down the road. And I would apologize to Mason, but I don't really care.
Ouch, because I know what that means. Anyway, last question before we let you guys go and wrap the show up. Man City or Liverpool? It's been alluded to all night. Jack, go first on this one.
I think Liverpool. I think they've got a huge head-to-head matchup on the 10th of April. It's on my calendar. I don't know if it's on yours. I'm very much excited for it. I'm also very much dreading it because those matches are always tactical. Just incredible matches between those two sides. I mentioned it that they're two of the best sides to ever be in the game. I mean, we're talking about sides that in one season Manchester City had the most points in a single season. And Liverpool had the second most points in a single season in the same year. These two teams are continuing to break records, continuing to just pave a new path forward. I do think Liverpool wins that head-to-head matchup against Manchester City. They've been edging out the close ones all season long, and I think that they just are in a good vein of form. I think they pull it out. Again, there's a lot of bias coming from right here, but yeah. So I'm going to go with Liverpool. I think they win the head-to-head. And I think with Man City and their desire to finally win a Champions League, will also almost switch gears after that defeat.
Camille?
You know, I think obviously a lot lies on that matchup that's coming up. I think it'll be a draw to the dismay of many.
That would be boring.
Yeah, it would be boring, but I think
you're sitting on a fence right there.
I understand, but and in that case, Man City would still be ahead.
But if you had to pick one.
Oh, I'm just saying in that matchup. They'd still be ahead after that. And like I said, Liverpool just has the more difficult run of games to end this season. I think Man City scrapes by just like they did in that 100 points, 200-point season.
Yeah. Ta, close us out.
I was able to go watch Arsenal against Liverpool in person, and after the game,
look at this guy.
After the game, it was a great spring break.
I was in London.
Yeah, just chilling out in London for spring break. No big deal. 10 days. I was able to go to Arsenal and Liverpool. And at the end of the game, Liverpool fans were singing, "We're gonna win the league. We're gonna win the league. And now you're gonna believe us. Now you're gonna believe us. Now you're gonna believe us. We're gonna win the league." And you know, the confidence right now for Liverpool is just sky high. The fact that you can chop down a lead from 14 points to only 1. If Liverpool win out for the rest of the season, they win the league. I think Jurgen Klopp will do everything that he can to complete this mission. We've already heard some rumors that Klopp's probably not going to continue as Liverpool manager when his contract goes up in a few years' time. So I think that having that extra space and having that extra time to win another league title, and you know, you're 1 point away from being level with Man City. So I think he'll do everything that he can to win that 21st title. Yeah.
Well, guys, thank you so much for joining the show today. My pick was going to be AFC Richmond, but I found out about 2 hours ago that they're not even in any league, and it's just a TV show, which is a real bummer. Jack, Camille, thanks for joining the show. That's going to do it for this week. Be sure to continue the discussion and follow us on Instagram and Twitter at IUSTV Sports. With that, there's one thing left to do. So toss it up, find out if we'll catch it, and we'll see you next week.